Welcome to EggCellent Adventures, where I, your host Reese Sweeney, take a step away from my duties as a radio and TV personality and give you a first-hand look at my other love, backyard chickens and homesteading. Take a listen to conversations I have with others who are in farming, homesteading, and connected brands. And some of those conversations go a little like this.
She does say I have too much, though. She says I have too many, but I don't think I have enough.
The chicken math started mathing.
Yep, it's never ending.
I only started with like 4 laying hens. Now I have over 100 chickens and geese and quail.
So the first question we ask everybody that comes on to the EggCellent Adventures, what was your old cluck moment?
The first thing that comes to mind is when the first time I got locked inside one of my own chicken coops.
We talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Now let's see who's on this episode of EggCellent Adventures. All right, we're back at it with another episode of EggCellent Adventures. We have another special guest on the line. This lady right here is my goat inspiration. She has an amazing program, goat yoga and cuddle session. She's in the Carolinas. So if you're out there and you like health and just physical fitness and mental health, she's definitely somebody you want to be listening to right now. We have Tracie on the line. Lady, how are you?
We're so excited to be here. And I brought Hope. So she's our guest star today. She's a 4-year-old baby or kid. So I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. I was just about to say, this is probably the best duo that we've ever had on EggCellent Adventures.
Yay.
How do you name these babies?
Okay, so I'm big on like themes. Like I love a good theme. And so my first round of goats was classic country singers. So like we've got June, Johnny, Hank, Waylon, Dolly. And then I did fun food names last year. So we have like Skittles, Starburst, Snickers, Twix. And so really fun food names, Mocha Macchiato. But I named her, she's special because I had lost a really special goat to me. She started this herd that I have now, and I lost her 2 weeks ago, and so this was the first kid born after, and so I named her Hope. So we all need hope, and to me, it just really fit her, and so she's our hope for 2024.
I love it. We were talking about her hairstyle up there, and I said it kind of looked like a little Superman, the little thing that hangs off his head, and that's amazing. So she's like your Superwoman goat.
She is. And she was born, we had a really, for us in North Carolina, it's cold. So we had like down to the teens at night and some, 20s in the day. And of course she was born right in the middle of that. So she's a tough little goat and her mom did a good job. But, so yeah, she's pretty special.
We're absolutely going to get into breeding and raising baby goats because that's something I want to get into, and I'm sure some of our listeners want to hear about it too. But we got to get this backstory first because everybody's not out here doing goat yoga and goat cuddles and has just a herd of beautiful goats at their side. So let's get into the backstory. We usually say, what's your old cluck moment? Meaning like that moment that you knew you were in the chicken game, but because you're a goat mama, what was the moment that you said, oh, bleat, I'm in here now?
Oh, goodness. Okay, so I started with, I grew up on a farm, and actually I'm kind of a first generation. I talked my parents into getting a farm. I started with horses, and then we just went all in, FFA, 4-H, raising like everything you could think of. And then when I graduated high school, I kind of went to the city ways, and I didn't have animals for a little bit. And so I had saved up, working corporate jobs and bartending, and I saved up, and I decided I've got to get back into my horses and animals. Like a big part of my soul was just missing, and so I saved up and got a horse. And then I found a farm where I could like board horses. And I was like, oh, I can do birthday parties and lessons. And so I literally just quit my job and I put all my money into it and just went like full in. That was 2014. And then in 2017, I had a friend. I had got June and Johnny, that what I call the Go Originals. A friend of mine had just got her goat yoga certificate, and I'm down for when it comes to business. Like I'll try. I love trying new things. You gotta explore and try different things and kind of see what works, And I was like, she said, "Hey, you've got the goats. Why don't we do goat yoga?" And I was like, "Yeah, girl, let's do it." I was like, "That sounds so much fun." Goats are so therapeutic for people. They're such funny and they're sweet and just being around goats, like most animals, it releases dopamines and endorphins in our body, just hanging out with them. And then you've got yoga, which is like super beneficial for, it's not just stretching. You can actually like release toxins from your kidneys and liver, and just like there's like all this cool stuff that goes into yoga moves. So combining the two is like super healthy, super fun. And I said, let's give it a shot. And I thought it would do pretty good, but it took off. Like we exploded. And by the time COVID hit, we were doing events all over Charlotte, which is like one of the biggest cities to us. We
Yeah.
had been invited to like Georgia Tech. We were supposed to go to Georgia Tech right before it hit. So we are doing classes. We were on TV and, the newspapers, and then COVID hit, and I'm like, okay, we couldn't do yoga for a little bit. But when they lifted it, and people, it was such a struggle for people to be home in their house and isolated, and everyone was really struggling. And so I thought cuddle sessions, like let people just come hang out. If they come in little separate groups, like it's just you and your family, so you're around them anyways, or whoever you choose, come and do cuddle sessions. And I did it like super safe, where I kept my distance, but showed them how to handle the goats, and they just took off big time. And that's when I realized, like, people, this is just so good. I had vets with PTSD that would come and say, Tracie, this is the only time like I don't feel anxiety, or I'm not stressed and thinking about. And I was like, wow, it's therapeutic, So it just took off. And then right now it's our main deal. I got horses, and I hope to start my lesson program this year, but I don't have the setup at this new place. So we really we do the goat yoga and the goat snuggles a lot. So
when you talk about these goats and how they change people's mental health and just how people react to them, you light up yourself. Do you realize?
Yeah. I get this like feeling, and to me, it's really important. I do this because, of course, I love animals, but I want to make a change in the world through these animals, with animals. I want to bring joy and happiness, and people forget like all their worries and just enjoy the moment, and also get people into farming and starting out with some chickens and a couple goats, and it's just so good for like all over health, so, but that's really sweet you say that. I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about it.
I think your energy comes across in your social media. I know when we started following you, I just try to follow people that have good energy. I want that around me, even if it's virtual. And you're one of those people that when you pop up on a timeline, your voice, your smile, just dealing with those animals, it's amazing. So we just wanted to say that and give you some flowers before we get back into the regular part.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very kind, and that means a lot to me.
Nope. Now I see you holding the baby. I started out my goat journey way differently, right? Chicken magic. I got some goats. My daughter, she was very interested in goats. I love them myself. So we went and we found somebody that had some baby goats. As soon as they were ready to be picked up, we went and picked them up. But they hadn't been around people at all. So they were very skittish. They were very skittish. And we got them back in March of last year. And now they'll eat out my hands. They climb up me, stuff like that.
Yes.
It took a while. So I've never had goats from scratch, right? I've had chickens from scratch. But you have one right now. So I guess long story short is, do you cuddle with them in the beginning? Like, how was that process to get them to kind of bond with you?
Yes, a lot of imprinting and cuddling from day one. Like the first week is vital. For instance, Pie and Muffin, they're two little babies that we have from Blueberry, and they were born at a farm camp. They had, of course, I'm immediately hands-on with them, but I got really sick right after camp, and so I didn't get to handle them a lot. And so I've had to work. They're a lot more skittish than a lot of my other kids, because that first week I like to handle them every time I'm at the barn. So all throughout the day, I'm picking them up, grabbing them, petting them, loving on them, And like you said, if you don't, they're super skittish. All farm animals are, chickens will be the same. If you don't like kind of mess with them as chicks and stuff, pigs, you've got to do a lot of hands-on and handling them. It doesn't have to be like long periods, but just let them know you're their friend,
Yeah, I do. I definitely, with the chickens, it's helped. the ones I hatched, and as soon as they were out, I was talking to them and just feeding them. And when they can eat, I'll feed them. I did let one of my hens that went broody kind of surrogate mother them, but yeah, so she did a great job. We had this ongoing joke, like we know those aren't her kids because she's bright red and I am Samani, so they're pitch black chickens. So it's like you're
like, those adopted. But
So,
isn't it cool seeing the moms like surrogate mother? I have a goat that did that, and I've had a chicken, and it's like so neat seeing animals like care for other young. It's not theirs, but they just immediately step in and raise them, and you would not know besides looking at them, like you wouldn't know theirs aren't theirs.
No, I think it kind of characterizes what I would love for the world to be. I know it's not. I know it's so many different dynamics that go into that. But just being transparent, even me and you having this conversation and me being able to speak with people that don't look like me, don't have similar backgrounds, but we can connect on this level. It's like a universal language. And I think it could alleviate a lot of the BS that we come across.
Yes. I'm right there with you. I've met so many different people through the animals and of all different backgrounds and ethnicities, and just, having the common ground, because you all battle and struggle with the same things, and you have the animals in common. There's so much common ground and stuff to talk about and share with each other. So yeah, I'm really glad for that too, because it does open your horizons. And animal people, most of the time, we stick together. Like you'll see on a page, if someone's having a problem, everybody comes together and they're commenting or messaging or praying. You know what I mean? They're just that really care of that community is awesome to see. It gives you that hope in humanity again, doesn't it?
It definitely does, man. Like I said, I've run across so many people, and just like you said, I had a problem with the chicken, and the outpour was so tremendous. Like the responses were incredible. I was getting DMs from people I never thought I would talk to in my life, and it was just so much positivity. I'm like, man,
Yes.
so backwards.
It really is. It really is. But when it comes to animals, people will come together all day for animals.
Yeah,
They will put aside all sorts of different differences, and it makes you think, like, I do think, man, I wish we'd treat each other like this.
Yeah, if
over each other's problems.
At least a couple goats or a couple chickens, I think the world will be a whole better place. I know it sounds like super corny, but I really do think that.
No, seriously, like, look at the difference in your life, like, I'm sure from when you got them to Notley, just like mental health alone, I mean, having them is amazing what they do, and having the animal and what it teaches our kids growing up too, lessons for us, lessons for kids, I agree. I think everybody should have at least a couple chickens, a couple goats, and then, have you some little garden and stuff, and feeling self-sufficient goes a long way too, and just having those few things to provide for your family,
Yeah, and you could pick up tips from anybody and be welcome to it.
Yes, there's so much information, and there's so much pages and people that are willing to help you, and nowadays that's one good thing. Like, technology, of course, has its, like everything, it's good and it's bad, but the good is we have access to so much information from, the generations before us and people that are in the trenches now that we can learn from. And I tell people that I've been doing it for, 35 years, but I can always learn. There's so much to learn, and I'm always open to that. And you've got to keep your mind open because there's different ways to do things, and each animal and situation is different too. You can't just say, like, this is the way I do it with everyone, because not every animal is going to respond the same,
Yeah, just like people. No, and I appreciate that. Definitely. Let's jump back into kind of the breeding and raising. I know you said you spent a lot of time with them. You imprint. You said she was born at a farm camp. I'm not familiar with that. What's that?
Not the two others. They were born. So I do farm camps where, like, these were just one day. In the summer, I'll do a 3 to 5 day camp, and I have kids. I bring them in. I teach them how to feed the animals, safety with the animals, handling them, petting them, and teaching about all the different ones. And we, like, ride horses at camp. We try to do some goat yoga, a lot of just free animal time, and a lot of just, like, playing on the farm. I like to see kids just have a great time. They're playing with sticks, they're playing in the dirt, they're making up games amongst themselves. They're learning to, like, respect and care for animals. And so also, like, that could open kids that maybe want to be future farmers, and that can introduce them into the world. Like, I have kids, I started, like I said, I ran a lesson program for 10 years, and I'm going to get back in that. I've got hundreds of students, But it's so neat because a lot of them are riding barrel racing now. They're competing. They're, their families have farms now. And so it's so neat knowing like making that change in them, you know. And we always say like you'd rather have your daughter bring home a horse than bring home I'll just say a donkey, but the other word for
Oh,
donkey.
exactly. You can say this is a safe space to call somebody a
Okay.
if you need to.
Yeah. So have your daughter bring home a horse instead of a jackass, okay?
Right. Right. I would absolutely love for any of my daughters to bring home a horse instead of that. So yes, thank you.
Right.
I appreciate
Yeah. But for breeding them, so all goats are different. My herd started with Nigerian Jors, but now I have 5 different breeds.
it. Okay.
I have the Nigerian Jors. Some are pygmies. I have one that may be a full pygmy, but it's impossible to tell without a blood test. But
Mhm.
pygmies are very short legs. They're like short and round more.
Mhm.
Nigerians are a little taller. They're still a dwarf breed, but they will have blue eyes where pygmies cannot have blue eyes. So
Okay.
that's what you'll know if it's not a full blood. And then I have the myotonic fainting goats, which I never thought I would have because I don't like to see them faint. It's very
Mhm.
uncomfortable. They cry out some, they get stiff, they just like, but there are some of the like easiest goats to raise, and they're such like very chill personalities. So that's like her mom is a myotonic fainting goat. I can't tell if she's got a lot of the gene. So sometimes you'll be able to tell within a couple of weeks of them, but they'll get real stiff, everything when they're young, like everything makes them faint. Like
Wow.
something goes too fast or, now they get older, they learn not to fall over. Usually they stiffen their legs and they stretch them out really far in the
Mm.
front and back, and they like stabilize themselves. And then they'll be like, oh, and they'll just like start walking real stiff. I got Nubians. They're a big size. They actually can be a dairy or beef goat. They're really good milk producers. And then I've got mini
Yes.
Nubians, which is a mix.
You saying the Nubians are really good milk producers?
Really good milk producers. Nigerians are great milk producers, but they're about half the size. Nubians, you can get easily, sometimes a gallon of milk a day from them, like half a
Okay.
gallon. It depends on your quality, but you can get a lot of milk from your Nubians. Nigerians, you get maybe a pint or so a day, but it's very, got a little more flavor, a little more rich.
Mm.
The Nigerians are so. But goat's milk is incredible. I don't know if you know this, but like even newborn babies can
Mhm.
have goat's milk sometimes, and people that are lactose intolerant a lot of time can have goat's milk.
I had a
So,
conversation with the lady up in Wisconsin, and she had
mhm,
a not Crohn's disease, but it was a gastric situation like that. And she
mhm.
said that she tried almost everything. When she started using raw goat's milk, that changed her life. Now she's thriving, has a whole
Wow.
4-H and farm program, and she's just flourishing.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yay! That's so awesome. I love to hear that story because I mean, I've had 5 major surgeries myself, and I deal with a lot of gastric issues. And I'll tell you, it stop you in your tracks. The pain and the
Hmm.
issues from it really are take your quality of life down. You want to stand up a little bit?
Yeah,
Want to change up?
she knows this interview is about her. She's just talking,
Yes.
and I love
Yeah,
it.
she's been talking the whole time. She's very sweet. She's a lot really chill, kind of like her mom.
Hmm.
We had a new baby born yesterday, and I can tell she's a little more feisty. She's already louder. She's already jumping on mom more. So it's like really cool. You can see the personalities almost instant within a couple days. You can kind of see. But yeah, goat's milk is really great. There's a huge need for it too. If you're thinking about getting into goats, in your area, I know in mine, there's a huge demand for goat's milk. There's like waiting lists at all like natural stores or homeopathic stores and stuff like that. So it's something that I encourage you. It can at least cover some of your grain costs and some costs of the animals. And anybody can do the goat yoga is a little harder, but the snuggle sessions, like I've taught a couple of my friends about doing those, and they're very simple. If you're comfortable with having people at your property, come out hour sessions. I do like 15 an hour, and people can come and just play with them. They hold them, pet them, give them treats and stuff. And so it's a way to kind of help cover a little cost, and it socializes your animals a lot. The animals love it. They're getting more attention. So it's really like a plus all the way around.
I would love to have that conversation with you too about that because I
Yeah.
was just trying to figure out just some different ways to get because we have this program, the EggCellent Adventure program, where we're introducing kids to these goats and to goats,
Mhm.
the chickens, the ducks, the rabbits, the livestock protection dogs, and now we
Yep.
have two
That's so
rescue
good.
ponies. So
I love the ponies. And the
yeah,
ponies would do great for snuggles or petting too. Not, I call them snuggles, but like the petting is part of it. Like we have the baby cow they can pet when they, come do the snuggles. So now you have those cool, adorable mini ponies. I love them. And thank you for rescuing them too. And
mhm.
yeah, so you could do that. They could pet the chickens, they could play with the goats, hold the goats, pet the ponies, but we can definitely talk about that. I can give you some information and stuff and like the waiver that I use and stuff for that.
That'll be amazing. Thank you for that. And
Yeah,
just
yeah,
introducing
of
people
course.
to that lifestyle is like we talked about earlier is great. Now with the milking and the I want to talk about that because are there any specific tools that you use? I've seen some of the boards that the goats walk up on the ramp and then you kind of get them
Yeah.
eating feed or treats while you're milking them. Or are those some of the things you use as well?
Definitely, that's key. So your milking stand is what usually we'll call it, and they're pretty simple to build. If you have someone that can maybe build you one, you want to just have it at a good level where you can sit on a stool and and milk the cow. You got to have something to put their head in, and it's like where you kind of lock their head and they have like their food where they can eat. Once they get trained, like you see in a lot of these videos, which is amazing, that the goats know. They pull them in, they get up on the stand and they're going to get a treat while they get milked, and that relieves some pressure off them too. Once they know the routine, it's a lot easier to do. Your just YouTube is great for all the videos you can find because each goat's going to be a little different. Like Nigerian, their teat is a lot smaller, so you're only going to use like a fingertip, or maybe some of your bigger breeds or like cows, you're going to use your whole hand to milk. So there
Gotcha.
are some differences. Make sure you want to clean your udder and your teat really good, strain your milk, things like that. You learn about how to keep it afterwards and things like that. But it's, nothing, it's not really complex. Like a lot of the animal stuff isn't. It's just stuff that goes into it for each animal. Learning, hands-on experience. My suggestion is find a farmer in your area, and a lot of times they're happy to do it. Post on like a farming page or reach out to farmers and say, hey, I need a mentor. I'm looking to learn to milk goats or trim their hooves. It's very important to learn to trim their hooves too. Can I have a mentor? A lot of times we'll teach you for free. You could also say, hey, I'll help out on your farm in exchange. Do an hour or two work for them putting their time to teaching you the tools of the trade. So it's really great. I always tell people try to get some hands-on experience at a farm. And a
No,
lot of us are so willing to have free help. Okay.
no, I am. So I don't even have a whole farm. I just got a couple acres and the animals, and we just keep adding on more. But definitely would love
Yeah.
some help here and there. That's why I said I don't have friends anymore because every time somebody comes over to see the animals, then they're working.
I saw that video of your friend. Like, yeah, I thought he was coming to hang out, but then he's in there like dumping feed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he was having a good time though. Like they all have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. And most of the time anybody they come over, they're probably like, can I go see the animals? What do you
Mhm.
got out there? Like,
Exactly.
they want to see them and pet them and stuff. So, yeah. And I think it's so neat to get in people back, to their animals, having, like you said, you just have a couple acres, but look at what all you're able to do on those couple acres.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a ton of land to have these smaller farms or homesteads, with some animals. So, I think it's really great what you're doing with the kids and bringing them into this world because a lot of the kids, they won't get that opportunity.
Mhm. No, you're right. You're right, and that's exactly what we're doing it for. And I know before you said you kind of talked your parents into getting you into the farm life, and then you fast forwarded. You were doing 4-H and different things. I jumped into
Yeah.
this thing kind of cold turkey, but like you said, there's so much information that people are willing to help. I just want anybody listening to know you can start anywhere, but is when you do start, just be open minded.
Exactly. Definitely be open-minded and realize like stuff is going to happen, stuff's going to come up. You're going to have a game plan and your animals are going to have a different game plan sometimes.
Always.
And like it can be so frustrating at times, but you'll get the hang of it. You'll get the feel for it, and things will start going good. And it's just one of those things that like all the good does, you're going to have a lot of moments, you're pulling your hair out, but then there's so many other moments that just make it all worth it. Don't go into it thinking that it's easy though, because it's not easy and it's a big commitment, you know. So you got to make sure that you are committed to it and open-minded and willing to learn. Just because, like I said, I've been doing it 35 years and I still learn stuff all the time. So
Right.
you always want to make sure you're learning and,
What do you think your biggest challenge is with having so many? How many do you have? Do you know?
Okay. I did, I was counting before the show because I said, I bet he's going to ask me how many I have. Actually, I have my goat shirt on. I said it started with one. It started with one and then it ended like that. And that's not even, I've got, I'm back up to 27 now because we had the last two that were born.
Okay.
So 27. So the biggest thing is I just got one of my followers actually gifted me a goat logbook, which is going to be really helpful. The big thing is keeping up with when their feet were trimmed, when were they wormed, when were they given their vaccines, stuff like that. Because goats, you really want to be what's the word I'm looking for? Like preventative care, preventative. Be on top of your stuff. Now I don't worm. There's a lot of controversy in worming and we're learning a lot. And we know now you don't want to overworm and be worming. Like back in the day, we wormed our animals every 3 to 4 months. Like that was just it. That's what you did. Now I do a lot more natural dewormers. So you got like pumpkin seeds, pine trees, um, you can use Diamexis earth a little bit in your grain, and there's
Yes.
some other natural wormers and herbs you can order. I don't worm unless I think there's an issue, and sometimes I worm after kitting, depending on like how my dough looks. But keeping up with all your information, stay on top of your preventative stuff, and have a good kit of different medicines and stuff. Because when these animals, a lot of times it's hard for people when they're new into it because animals will go down really quick. Like the
Mhm.
goat will seem like off one day and the next day it's on knocking on death's door,
Mhm.
because they have to hide sickness and problems because that's how they stay in the herd, secure in the herd. When an animal starts to show weakness, it can be a danger for them in the herd.
Yeah.
So they try to don't show weakness or injury. So a lot of times they won't show you until it's pretty bad. So you really want to be on top of it, have a great vet, establish some kind of a relationship, even if it's just one time out to do like one vaccination or something, but you're in there, you're as a client. That way,
Yes.
when emergency comes up, they're going to answer and they're going to get to you. So it's really important to have a vet on hand. And goat vets can be hard to find. Unfortunately, there's not as many as really
Mhm.
we need. I'm very fortunate in my area. We've got one like 20 minutes, but I know some areas it's 2, 3 hours for a vet, for a goat vet. So having all those medicines and stuff on hand will help a lot. So you can treat all you can treat, a lot of things you can treat your own, but that way you can be treating and doing something until the vet can arrive, you
That
know.
makes sense. What's like your go-to? What is your I know on my first aid kit for my kids, I got Band-Aids, I got Neosporin, I got Tylenol, some gauze. Like what would be a good
Yeah.
first aid goat kit?
Okay, first aid goat kit. So some medicines you want to have Banamine. Now this is going to have to come from your vet, but it's very, very good to have on. There's some different like Banamine and Meloxicam is another. You can get that from your vet if you have an established relationship. Usually they have no problem getting you a bottle of Banamine, or sometimes the Meloxicam. I use both, but I tend to use more Banamine. But it's like an Advil. It's like you want to talk? Say hi.
She said, I don't
Hey,
like
hey.
Benamine.
She's like, no, I don't like that medicine, and they don't either. So Banamine is like your Advil or ibuprofen. You can also use baby aspirin for goats as well. So have some of that. Have some Pepto. You want to have some like vitamin, some selenium gel on hand. And I like to always keep electrolytes. So if they're sick, don't feel good, or you just had a mom give birth, electrolytes are a great way, or some Gatorade. Keep you some iodine or betadine. I don't suggest using alcohol or peroxide on any wounds anymore because we have learned that they will kill the good tissue.
Mm.
So I really try to just treat with the Banamine. The big thing with wounds is just keeping them clean. Put some Banadine. You really don't want to wrap a lot of stuff. You just want to keep it clean. So those things keep you a thermometer. I bought one of those little, just like, when you have a newborn baby and it has like the bubble syringe, thermometer. Those are your two main things. If you're having kids, bubble syringe to pull stuff if they need to help them to get that out to breathe, and
Yes.
thermometer for any time. Goats have to run warm. So like they stay between a 101 and almost a 103. And so you want to keep them warm. When they get too cold, especially as like kids, they can't eat. So that's when
Okay.
you start running into multiple and organ failure and stuff. So like when you see a goat that's not feeling good, I would always suggest first thing to do is going to be check their rectally, check their temperature, and check their FOMANCHA, which you can learn that online. Is going to be you're going to be looking into the inner eyelid to see the color, and you
Yes.
have a range of 1 to 5. That's going to tell you like a red is good, pink is okay, white's
Mhm.
like okay, we got a major problem. You
Okay.
know.
Okay.
So
She
yeah,
said,
so those are
yes,
some
that's a
things.
problem. She said, yes, my eyes are that color. It's a problem. She agrees. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep. She
We
good.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. And there's a lot of great lists. There's the Goat Emergency Team on Facebook. They have these awesome flyers. They're in their files, and they've got a flyer for everything you can think of. They're so
Mm.
great. Just start saving stuff like that. Make you a folder on your phone with like goat emergencies, goat care. Make you a folder on YouTube with goat videos and stuff and stuff like that. There's so many good resources, and never hesitate to reach out to one of us. I know speaking for myself, a lot of us, we don't mind. We love to help people. We'd rather help and give advice and the animal be better cared for, you know? So yeah, so we're always happy to help. I think farmers should, animal people really should and do most times stick together.
Yeah, you're
She's
doing it right now.
good.
You're helping my flock right now just by giving the information. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm so happy to help. I love seeing all your videos. Um, how many chickens do you have now?
See, I knew you were gonna ask me that, so I counted this morning. I have 16 chickens. I have
How
16,
many?
16 chickens. That then I just lost one last week. There was
Oh,
one of my OGs, one of my originals. She was about
that
three
was
and a half.
that was the one that was egg.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right
okay.
now. Yep.
I
Uh,
know that's so hard.
yeah, it really was. It's like one of my friends leaving me. You know.
It really is. I mean, you get such bonds and close with them, and they're part of your friends or family group. They're not just a chicken or goat or animal. Like we're messing and having, with them every day, all through the day. Like you form these really bonds, and you love all of them. Some we do bond with even more. Like there's some that are
Mhm.
just like super special, or you're a little closer to. And yeah, so it is hard to say goodbye
It
for
is.
sure.
But that thinned out. So I think I'm psychologically, subconsciously making room for more chickens in the spring.
Yeah.
But one of my friends, they own an exotic pet store, and her mom, one of her roosters passed. She had two roosters. They sleep in the house. It's an amazing,
The
incredible
house chickens.
story. She has house chickens, but one passed. So I donated
Oh.
two hens to her for the rooster, so he can have company and she can kind of not replace it, but just have a bigger family at her home.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was so sweet of you. Oh,
Yep. So we rehomed too. So now we're down to 16, which means that
you definitely got room for more.
I'll probably have 30 by September.
I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I know I've only got like 5 right now, and I'm like, oh, this is not enough. Like, okay, baby, like I've got to get more. Yeah. So chickens are awesome. They're so cool to watch and
Mhm.
just see, and like I don't know, they're so smart. My one Polish, her name is Ranch, and I was trimming hooves the other day, and so we use like a harness, and you like raise them up off the ground because they fight you so bad. And with the kids, it's easier because my milking stand also is you can use to trim hooves, but not for the little kids. So I had a little bit up. And the thing, and while I was going to put her up, I was getting her hooked up, and Ranch, my Polish chicken, came over and like pecked at me. She would like leave that goat alone.
Yeah, my
I
rooster
swear she
does
would
that.
take it up. Yeah.
Rooster does that. Like when I'm trying to do some things, like even if it's just hurting or trying to get the ponies to where I need them to be, because they're like, when I interviewed the horse lady, she's the concrete cowgirl. No disrespect when I say horse lady. She said the lower to the ground, the closer they are to the devil, and that's the truth with these ponies, right? So I'm trying to maneuver the ponies, and my rooster's like, "What are you doing to my homies?"
Oh, he
So
ain't having it. He
he's
ain't
like,
having it.
right. I was trying to catch one of the hens yesterday to make sure she didn't have bumblefoot. He thought I was harassing her. He's jumping up at me. I'm like, okay, this is
Oh
ridiculous.
my God.
So I had to put him in air jail after that. So it was just
Yep.
it's fun, man. It's really a fun just seeing all those personalities unfold.
Yeah, and the social like hierarchy and the way things work within the animals, and
Yeah.
like seeing even different the chickens bonding with the goat, or horses and goats and dogs or cats. And, it's really cool just seeing them all. But yeah, roosters, they don't play. I'm sure you've had some too. I don't like, if I'm doing something and maybe upset them, okay. But, I've had some that are like coming for me no matter, I'm just walking in the barn. So
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, not today.
Yeah, those get rehomed because I can't take a chance
Yep.
with the kids around and stuff. So those guys got it. I know they're doing their job, but I have to
They
do my.
got, yeah, you can't have the
Yeah.
aggressive. Yeah, I had one that, did that one after my daughter. It was a beautiful, like, orange gold silky, but I was like, no,
Yeah.
you got to go. And I don't know if you've seen this, but they are finding out now that some of those that are super aggressive, they've culled them and used them, and they're finding like huge testicles,
Mm,
giant. So that's well, a lot of people do say don't breed, the aggressive. So it
yeah.
makes you think, is that a genetic where they have way too much testosterone because they have huge testicles. So obviously that's more pumping through. So it
Right.
makes sense that they're just out of control because they have so much going, that they're very aggressive. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
thought
And
that
they
was interesting.
definitely say that with dogs and horses. I used to breed pit bull terriers, not to fight them or anything, or show dogs. And when a
Hmm.
puppy's aggressive, we immediately get that puppy fixed and just let
Yep.
him be a pet. They have a great life, but we don't want to take the chance of passing on that trait to the next one, that added amount of testosterone. If you give us 1 second, we're going to take a quick break, come
Okay.
right back. If you give me 1 second.
All
And I
right.
want to make sure this thing is still going because we have to talk about enclosure. We got to talk about feed because you
Oh
are the
yeah.
mama. So we got to talk about all that stuff, and then we got to talk about what you got on the horizon for 2024. Hey, talk to me about that. Let's jump into it before we talk about goat care, just in general goat care, because I really do appreciate that first aid kit
Yeah.
list. Right? Let's talk about goat yoga. I know you said you kind of got into it pre-pandemic, and then you shifted into the cuddling. What is different?
Yep.
Beside the obvious, what is different with the goat yoga, and how explosively helpful is it?
Okay, so Go Yoga is going to be a lot more. I do my classes for beginners, but and so I do beginner and try to do the easier moves, but it's still a good workout, and good stretching, even with beginner moves. So super interactive. I do a lot of moves that where the goats can jump on your back, and so one of the main moves is called tabletop, but we call it goat pose. So it's kind of just when you're on your hands and knees and you've got your back flat, and get the goat on top of you. And so our goats, we give them animal crackers during class. And so they know that they jump on the back, they get a cracker, and goats love to jump anyway. So it works
Yeah,
out like really good.
I was
The
wondering
goat,
that. I was wondering.
oh,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was wondering that. Do you have to train them to actually be actively in the yoga class?
You do. Like, so each group of kids, they get to kind of learn. Like, so we give everybody a bag of animal crackers. And so I tell people that's how you make best friends with goats. Goats are super food driven. Like, that's where me and them are so much alike because we're very food motivated.
Same.
So, yeah. So I'm like, that's why we get along so well. And so they know when they see yoga mats out, there's treats coming. The people are going to give them treats. We're giving them treats. They're getting all this attention, but it's mostly the treats that they're all about. So they literally like come running when they see yoga class, and they're like looking around and trying to find them. And then they learn, the jumping. Like they can jump from about 2 weeks old. They could probably get on someone's back on their own,
Hmm.
So they learn to jump up and get a treat and stuff like that. So some of them love more than others. They all have their own personalities. Of course, the
Hmm.
Nigerians are they're the big jumpers, in the crew. And so um, but yeah, they really do love the classes a lot, and you can see it, like I said, as they run out and they're just like, it's a bonus for them, So, but
Gotcha.
yeah, and it's so good for people. What I love about Goat Yoga is about 75% of each class is people that have never done yoga.
Hmm.
But then they're like, now they've done it. And they're like, oh, I like yoga. I actually like this. A lot of them do enjoy it. The goats make it fun, so it's not as serious, but it brings people into the yoga. And so, and it's just the health benefits are for like mind, body, and soul are so incredible for people. Like at classes, the energy and laughter and just the feeling is so great. Like you get high off of it because it's just so amazing seeing all the people have so much fun and have such a good time, and I just love that.
No, me too. I've seen some of the videos. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
people, the goats are having a great time. And it just seems like an incredible thing to do. And just to be able to connect with those animals just unlocks a whole nother form of health and awareness.
Exactly. It sure does. It really does. So it takes it to that whole other level. Yeah. And that you can't do without animals. You know,
Yeah.
animals bring out in all of us, I feel like, the best and good, and the happiness and that they bring in, and the just pure innocence of them. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not a complicated relationship. It's simple. You love, respect them, they love, respect you, and so yeah, it's really cool.
Now I know with care, with all of our animals, good clean water is great, but they all eat different things and they eat different things for different reasons. So if somebody was getting into goats, you got goat feed out there, you got this type of hay and timothy grass and alfalfa and this and that and the third. What
So
should
much
we be
stuff.
feeding our goats?
Okay, so and just like with anything, but I feel like with goats, there is a lot of controversy on
Mhm.
grain or no grain, especially when it comes to your withers. And people say withers and bucks, but it's really mostly withers. So one of the top issues with the wither, which is a fixed goat, that either
Mhm.
by banding him, his testicles, or you castrate him,
Mhm.
is that they will get what we call urinary calculi, which is
Mhm.
like kind of like a human kidney stone, but it's going to get in their urethra and literally block the urine from coming out of their bladder.
Okay.
So, but what I found in a lot of research, and this isn't 100%, but you run into that problem a lot when you are fixing them way too early. And
Okay.
it's a lot of people, like some people will fix it 8 weeks, but that's way, way too early.
Mhm.
And it's a pain because goats, like a lot of animals, are hypersexual. So they're getting on their
Right.
girls and friends, and they can do things really early on. But I like to make sure mine are fully extending out of the shaft so that you're seeing all their stuff, and that
Lipstick.
way we're
Call it the
yeah,
lipstick.
yeah, exactly. They get all the lipstick out,
Right.
and you want to see that in a good, healthy in and out, because and it for some reason that just helps to make sure that those stones don't get blocked in there.
Okay.
Once I see that, I usually wait till about 16 weeks, and it's a lot longer. Like I said, you're going to have to separate them from the other females and sometimes even from their mom. But to me, it's worth it because if you do it too early, you can never come back from that, and you could have those urinary calculations for the rest of their life and lose them to it.
Got
I have lost one wither to that, but somebody fixed him before we got him. He was a rescue too, so he was just in horrible care to start with. But besides that, and knock on wood, and I'm not saying it can never happen, but I
right.
wait till late with my withers. But all my withers do get grain because they're mixed in with my doughs, and it's just too much to separate everybody to eat.
Mhm.
But you do have to feed. It's very important. So that fixing them later on, and goats really need specific goat feed if you're doing, especially with withers or bucks, because there's an ammonium chloride balance. It's super crucial for goats, for the does too. But, I really suggest just getting a goat specific food because that's already balanced in your grain. So you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
So a
And I saw
goat
that
feed,
we have a Purina feed we use in addition to the hay that we've been feeding,
yep.
and it seems to work really well. We haven't had any issues, knock on wood, like you said, so far because it's a balanced feed.
Good. It's a balanced feed. Yeah. So really, make sure it's going to be a little bit more like an all stock feed around here is like $10,
Mhm.
but my goat feed is about 15, $16. So yeah, I'm spending a little more, but I know exactly what they're getting. And
Mhm.
I'm making sure I'm not having those issues. I use like country feeds. It's Purina too, or I think,
Mhm.
or maybe, yeah. And it's a country feeds. There's a few different ones. Just make sure it says goat. There's some different ones that'll say like a goat grower. Those can be
Yeah.
used for dairy too. They're kind of more for meat goats to really grow them out.
Mhm.
But and you have like your textured or your pelleted. I will feed usually pelleted, so more of a dry grain throughout the year, but sometimes I'll give them a texture, but mine actually seem to like the pellets more. And then I
Yeah.
also will give them boss, which is something you can give the chickens, pretty much all animals. So your black gold sunflower seeds are great, and then
Okay.
alfalfa pellets. With Hay, I use good old fescue grass hay. And
Okay.
unless I've got a really hard keeping animal, like when my goat was down, I got her some alfalfa Timothy stuff, but I just go with fescue. It's affordable. I mean, hay, even fescue is expensive nowadays, but
Yeah.
that's what my budget allows for, and that's what I've been feeding my animals my whole life. Like I
And they
said,
look
unless I've
great.
got,
Just
yeah, it
gonna
looks great. It's fine. It's what they would eat if they go out in the field. Is
mm-hmm.
that's what they're going to eat.
Yeah.
So just make sure there's no mold in it, and just make sure you're getting. A lot of people say, "Oh, just get first cutting." Like second cutting and third cutting can be fine too. We can't honestly be picky about it. There's a lot of hay shortages. There's not as much hay nowadays. So the biggest thing is just look out for mold. Look for
Yeah.
mold. So.
Make sure it's dry and
But
nice.
yeah, so
Right.
goat pellets and hay. The biggest thing is fresh water and hay is what they absolutely have to have. That I've found the grain really helps me to keep the good weight on them. I've always have somebody that's in milking or has a kid on them usually, and so I just find that they're great, and of course they love it. So.
Right. Right. Sometimes they love it too much because I walk outside and I got 3 round ones.
Oh my God. I've got some that people ask me if they're pregnant. I'm like, that's a boy. Like, no, that's a boy. Yeah, you do got to be careful. And the goats, like with other animals, like you can feed them and an hour or even 15 minutes later, they hear a bag and they will come stampeding like they haven't eaten at all,
Yeah.
So do be very careful. Don't overfeed them. It can be hard on their joints, and on their rumen and stuff. So you want to be careful. Usually like for a full grown, like around a cup a day, a cup of feeding or so is good for them. So
No, I
but
appreciate all of that info. We have some good, clean info for those trying to get into goat keeping. We've got ourselves a
yeah,
medical kit. We've got feeding practices. We've got some care practices. And we got some training practices. So you've kind
yep.
of given us a whole plethora of ideas and things we needed.
Wonderful. I definitely, I hope this helps people out there. And I definitely encourage people to get into chickens or goats, and you won't regret it. And it definitely are going to have some goat chicken farmer math going on. So just be prepared.
No, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. I know after we've
You're
almost had an
welcome.
hour, we're going to have to do a part 2. I got to bring you back. You've got too
Yay!
much.
Awesome. I would love that. Yeah, I've had a great time. And I've got tons of info. I'm happy to share and talk with you further. So just let me know and we'll definitely do a part 2.
Absolutely. So this is just part 1. We appreciate you guys checking us out on this episode of Excellent Adventures. If anybody's in the Carolina area and they want to do a snuggle session or a goat yoga session, how do they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook for Carolina Goat Yoga and Snuggle Sessions, or you can email us at carolinagoatyoga@yahoo.com. I'm working on our website. I'm not into big techie person, but I've got to get our website done. But just find us on Facebook for now, and we're on Insta too for Carolina Goat Yoga, and then you can reach us multiple ways through there. So,
Awesome.
yes, thank you so much.
We're going to be taking a trip up there soon. I want that info in the summer so I can get my daughter up there for the farm class. I think we really enjoy that. And I want to learn too.
Yeah, definitely. Y'all come to farm camp. It'll be awesome. We would love to have y'all. So you just let me know. We'll make it happen.
Okay, awesome. That's another Excellent Adventures. Thank you, Tracie. Looking forward to seeing you soon. And we'll be following on all the social media pages. Until then, appreciate you for being
right. Keep up the good work. Bye, y'all.
And our first guest to ever bring a live goat on too.
Yes, I'm a first.
Thanks for following our journey at Blackyard Chickens. If you want more info on raising chickens, brooding baby birds, or to see our experience after Chicken Meth hit and our entire collection of animals, their care, and even get some great product information and deals, visit our website at blackyardchickens.com. That's chickens with a Z. Our merch is on the website too, and all proceeds go to our mobile petting and sensory experience that is dedicated to agricultural awareness and youth development through animal encounters. There you can also hear from experienced farmers, ranchers, backyard enthusiasts, and others on the Excellent Adventures podcast, with new episodes hatching weekly.